Let me just begin by saying that paper towels are expensive. It's one of those epiphanies that you tend to have as your items are scanned and your heart dips while noticing that you've blown a quarter over your paycheck on a week's worth of groceries. As if choosing a career in creative arts was not taxing enough, on the bright side, people in LA were rich, stupid rich, which meant the odder your job was, the more you got paid. Closet organization came naturally to me, and thanks to Marie Kondo, this little side business I set up helped get me through the most tough days. A friend had recently hooked me onto a website where you could list your services to reach the elite of the elite. That's when I got an offer from an Audrey Salinger that I could not resist. She had left her contact number in the message, saying it was a highly paid gig and that she could not reveal more details until I agreed. I picked up my phone and dialed her number. "Hi, you've reached Audrey Salinger." A delicate voice came through on the second ring. "Oh, hi. Yeah, this is Karina from the Closet Organization ad. I saw your message." "Karina, I'm so glad you called." Her tone changing almost instantly. I didn't have to speak more as she delved right into the details. Audrey worked for the Montgomerys, whose house required quite a bit of refurbishing, and she'd like to start with the closet. It all seemed fine until she mentioned she had one condition. It would be preferable if you finished in one night. You can stay over if need be, Audrey spoke. I was a little taken aback to respond, feeling uneasy about the proposal. I wasn't ready to make her a promise that I could not follow through without knowing what I was dealing with. 3,000, Audrey's voice interrupted my thoughts. Thrice the amount listed on the website. I'll pay you $3,000 if you spend the night and... I'll do it. I'll get it done, I told her. I wasn't going to let this opportunity slip by. Great. I'll text you the rest of the details. Thank you. Audrey cut the call without a second to waste. I woke up early the next day, ready to get a head start on the laborious task that lay ahead. I pulled into the driveway of the address, texted to me by Audrey. It was nothing less than a mansion. She had instructed me to let myself in with the key, dropped in the mailbox. It amazed me how nonchalant the rich were when it came to safety. I found the key along with an envelope addressed to me. I opened it to find the dollar bills, 3,000 as promised, along with a letter. Carefully placing the money inside my bag, I pinched myself to ensure I was not dreaming. I opened up the letter. Dear Karina, I'm sorry I was not able to personally meet you as something came up, but please refer to the following instructions below. Number 1, you are to only clean the second room on your right downstairs. All other rooms will remain locked. Number 2, lock yourself once inside and do not open the door if you hear a knock, no matter how many times you hear it. Number 3, if you find the dollhouse while cleaning, make sure to cover it with the white bedsheet. The dolls need to sleep. Please do not forget this. Help yourself to anything in the fridge. The bed's rolled out of the living room sofa. Audrey. I read the letter twice, wondering if she was trying to be funny with her 2 rules. I placed the letter into my bag and let myself in, immediately locking the door behind me. I was not one to break the rules, especially if it came with a shit ton of money. The grandeur of the Montgomery's mansion swept me off my feet. It took me 30 minutes to pick my jaw off the floor and get to work. The second room on my right was a walk-in closet, piled with all sorts of things. I believed it belonged to a Mrs. Montgomery, as most of the items resembled what would belong to a middle-aged woman. I rolled up my sleeves and got down to it, cleaning, folding, stacking, labeling, only taking a quick half-hour break between for lunch. To grab a sandwich I found in the fridge, I made a mental note to reach home and Google what line of business the Montgomerys were in to afford all of this. When I came back, ready to tackle yet another section, I noticed a huge dollhouse, one that slipped my attention before. It was a replica of the very mansion I was in, down to the nth detail. Every room, every tile, so meticulously designed. There were 4 miniature figures placed in a different room of the house. I assumed it was the family that currently paid for my 2 months' rent. I didn't dare touch the dollhouse, worried if I even chipped it a little, it would cost me a kidney. I dove right back to work, letting the hours pass me by. It was 11 p.m. as I placed the last pair of stilettos on the shelf. Too exhausted to even eat, I shut the lights out and closed the door behind me, crashing on the living room couch. I was deep asleep when I was awakened by the knocking. I checked my phone to see that it was almost 2 a.m. The eeriness of all finally caught up to me as I began to imagine the worst-case scenarios in my head. I began to regret signing up for this. The knocking got faster, and I shut my eyes trying to zone it out. I woke up the next morning to the sound of clanking pans from the kitchen. I realized I had overslept due to my exhaustion. I walked into the kitchen to find a man and a woman similar to the dolls I saw. "Good morning. You must be Karina." Mrs. Montgomery flashed a bright smile. "I love what you've done with the closet. Looks so much more compact." "Oh, thank you. I didn't know you were here." I spoke, too embarrassed to present my disheveled morning face. "Oh yes, we found an early flight back from the Bahamas. Kids couldn't wait to get home. Why don't you join us for breakfast?" I sat down on one of the high chairs as the 2 kids rushed in, after helping myself to a scrumptious meal. I said my goodbyes after thanking them at least a couple of 100 times. On my way back, with only 5% battery left, I quickly texted Audrey that the job was done, and that I had also had the pleasure of dining at the Montgomerys. As soon as I reached home, I jumped into the shower and plugged my dead phone in. I could feel the fatigue leaving my body as the hot water hit. I couldn't help but sing out loud, ecstatic about how this gig went. My bathroom concert was interrupted by a knocking on my front door. I turned off the water and wrapped myself with a towel. "Give me a minute," I yelled as I hurried to get dressed. My phone screen flashed 15 missed calls from Audrey, 4 texts. The knocking began again. "In a second," I read the text. "Karina, pick up my call. Did you leave the house? Tell me you left." I couldn't understand Audrey's panic as I scrolled through the texts. "Karina, did you forget to cover the dollhouse?" I couldn't recollect. I figured I must have forgotten because of how tired I was. The knocking on my door came faster, more furious now. The Montgomerys died in a plane crash 2 years ago, trip back from the Bahamas. I clutched my phone tight in my hands as I read those lines. My stomach dipped and I felt like I couldn't breathe. If the Montgomerys died 2 years ago, who did I have breakfast with today? I felt my ears get hot, the knocking fading into the background as my own heart beat louder. The dolls need to sleep too. A feeling of dread washed over me as I realized I didn't follow Audrey's instructions. I turned slowly towards my door, the knocking suddenly reminding me of last night at the mansion. My phone buzzed a new text, my hand shaking beyond control as I opened to read. "Do not open your door." The end. This story was written by Long Story Short. Narrated by Remy. If you enjoyed this story, please check out the link in the description below to see more of this author's work. And if you would like me to read one of your own stories, please check out the link for my subreddit, Remy Reads, and I would be more than happy to discuss narrating your story. Please join me next week for another terrifying tale. Stay safe and keep creating.